Hey, what's going on, guys? Echo, and welcome to, again, the Stanley Parable Deluxe Edition, or whatever it's called, I can't remember now. It's been literally 2 months since I last played this, but just a little over 2 months. And, yeah. What time is it? Does anyone truly know? Of course they don't. Nobody knows anything. You and I don't even know each other. We're like strangers. Sure, I've adjusted all the game settings to exact specifications. But who hasn't? It's just what I do, like a day job, and now the job is over. There's no more information for me to gather. I've collected all the data on you that I can, and I still really don't know you, and you don't know me. And neither of us know what time it is. I guess some settings are just unsettable. But if I'm being totally honest, the clock doesn't do anything in the game anyway. You won't have me here when the game starts next time, but that's okay. Video games were meant to be played alone. You like being alone, don't you? Actually, I do. That's maybe the only information I really learned about you. Well, it's time for me to leave. There is still one more setting that we need to adjust, but it may take a little time before I'm ready for that. It's not here really in my job description, but that's okay. Perhaps you'll see me again, if you can find me. Talk soon. Aww. But yeah, like I say, it's been about a couple of months since I last played this, and I thought, let's come back to it. I want to see if it remembers that it's been a while since I last played this. Ah, yes, of course, the Stanley Parable 2. So basically, I have played some of this game after the So since the last episode I did on this, which is quite a while ago, I have played this a couple of times before. Nothing really happened amazingly, I'll be honest. But yeah. Basically, I found like one of their workshops or somewhere where and you can now start collecting Stanley figurines or something, or Stanlerines, whatever the narrator wants to call them.
This is the story of a man named...
And we'll skip that again. Hey, here we go.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Ah yes, I now have
Stanley
the bucket.
picked up the bucket and smiled.
I forgot.
Never be alone again. Not truly alone. Not with the bucket around.
Ah yes, I forgot I now have the bucket. I have my bucket. Okay. Ooh.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Nope.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
Yes, it is.
But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Yes.
You're getting
There we go.
now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the figure
Ooh,
and
one
the
more.
reads. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
Ooh, what's in there? What's this? Another ending? Maybe. Who knows? Oh. Ooh. Hello. Ooh. What is this?
This is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get me. What's that? Who's there?
Oh, this is weird. Oh, I don't like this. Oh, I did not like that. Oh no, don't be a jump scare. Please don't be a jump scare. Please don't be a jump scare. Oh, fucking hell.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
This game has just gotten weird.
The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together.
I did not like that.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest.
Oh, flipping heck. Yes, let's go to the left. That was freaky. Somewhere both red and blue.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other clean. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours.
Now we're just stuck in a loop.
In such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then, something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. Now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me! The bucket!
Could it truly be?
I think
He was
I've
forward from room to
been...
room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley! Find me!
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
I think I've already done that mission before. Well, this storyline before.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work.
No, this is different.
On this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place.
Fuck's sake.
Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. Of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Nice. That's one way to get back home. Or back to work, shall I say. Oh, see, because it's been a while since I last played this, I'm trying to remember like the directions that I've taken on here. I think for this next one, I'm not going to take the bucket. Part of me wants to try and stay in here for as long as possible, but not gonna work.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could
it mean?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I'm not taking a bucket.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes. This room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Let's go back down here. There's got to be something else down here.
Stanley had now gotten himself so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun from so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun from so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun from so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun from so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun from so far off the beaten path.
Oh no, I should have jumps over here.
From so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun from so far off the beaten path that it seemed didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out I'm just a tape recording? It was all just in Stanley's head. I bet that's the kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it turns out all to be in the main character's imagination, you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling. It must be so simple to be you. Life being an unending waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what you've done to me. This is all your fault.
Aww. I'm sure I had jumps, because if I remember rightly, if you save some jumps from like the start or whatnot, you get to keep them. I don't know. It's very, very strange.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be perfectly. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Trust the completionist instinct. So yeah, I need to somewhere both red and blue.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Thank you. Ah. Okay. Thank you. Wait. Let's see what happens if I just keep pressing this. Nah, nothing. Okay.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him, always. The bucket would. And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
I'm just gonna press random numbers. Okay, let's just...
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumb, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Yes, definitely. It's not the fact that I can hear you. It's right there. Okay, I can't go any further. Do 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 going down the elevator. I guess I'll see you later. Tra-la-la-la-la-la. Ah, this game.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Nice.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley
Yeah, actually, good point.
would both meet a violent death. But of course, Stanley and the bucket thought better of it and realized they simply had too much to live for. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
What's this?
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs.
I'm sure that these are all the
I'd
endings.
never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Well, it's a false one. Oh, it's up there.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
I can't go in there. Crap.
When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Mm-hmm.
But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen.
Huh.
Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again. Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another. It dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands. the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place.
Hey,
living through
penguins.
live streams of the silliest birds imaginable.
Flamingos.
Of all the possible paths his life could have
Okay.
taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Yay! Oh, is that it? Man! Is that it? Oh. But I wanted to see more birdies. Let's go one more time, let's go.
All of this co-writers. No,
Wait.
this isn't the right office, is it? Is this Stanley's office?
Oh, I didn't even see. Yeah, too late. Bucket.
A strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction.
Purple. Wait.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here
Yep.
it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct?
No.
No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Yep.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick...
Hello.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
Mm-hmm. Am I just stuck here now? There it is.
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head. Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me. Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it would ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else. You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal.
What if I don't press this button? Okay, let's just do it.
It's sad. I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
Yeah.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
Say that me over and over.
Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket? Oh no. I'm having feelings for the bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I have to feel the bucket?
What the fuck?
The bucket has to say, do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes. The bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation.
Taking the bucket to
Stanley,
bed now.
Give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll...
This has gotten weird. Go back to work, Stanley. Okay, I'll go back to work. This is a really weird episode and I love it. We started off weird and we're gonna end it weird. But I think I'm going to end this episode here. You'll have to let me know in the comments, guys, if you want me to do more of this again. Like I say, it has been a while, but if you want to see more of this in the future, then make sure you let me know. But yeah, for now, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Peace.